of the biggest challenges that any uptrend trading trader has is, where do we buy the pullback? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this update. So we're going to think about where the opportunities are, and I'll show you some examples of trades that were taken, right? This is not about analysis alone. This is about what are the ideas that will map to the next set of alerts that we will have here, whether that be in Simpler Central, whether that be in the Sector Secrets Mastery. So we're going to start off at the top of the food chain, and that is the S&P. So index to sector to stock. And this is a brand new high on the S&P, gang. Now, to say that the S&P and the Dow and the NASDAQ are going to do the same thing, and even more so to say the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, and Russell are going to do the same thing, isn't quite accurate, right? We want to break down each one of the indices because they have slightly different reasons for moving. Index sector. Well, let's talk about why the S&P is moving higher. Yes, in many ways it's because the tech-weighted sectors and stocks within the S&P are moving higher, but notice the NAS is not as strong. So what gives? Analysis for the S&P does not necessarily apply to the NAS and vice versa, right? What's the difference? The difference maker is right here. The sector, or the cylinder, if you will, of the S&P motor, XLF, financials, continue to march higher. In fact, in the Sector Secrets Mastery, we entered American Express this week. And American Express is one of a handful of stocks that we will continue to look at for buys. If you take a look at the XLF, what do we want to keep on our bullish watch list? JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard, Wells Fargo, and there it is, American Express. Now, it doesn't mean that stocks like Citi or Bank of America or Goldman aren't worth buying, but they are not in uptrend. So yes, the rising tide will probably lift most of these boats, but we want to find the strongest boats that will benefit from that rising tide. Those are those green momentum, green trend labeled charts. All right, so that's XLF, and that explains, all right, Rog, why is the S&P today outpacing the NASDAQ? And that's a big reason why. What's holding back the NASDAQ? All right, and I mentioned that price movement ranges are going to be a big part of what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about price movement ranges as it pertains to the NAS. The NAS had a lot going on with SMH, and I'm going to recommend a couple things and, use it as you see fit. If there are major volatility events happening in a particular sector or index, it's okay to trade around it. In fact, in the Sector Secrets Mastery, we did not trade tech at all this week. We focused on things like Procter & Gamble for day trades, the financials for day trades, JP Morgan. We focused on American Express, as I mentioned before, for swing trades. We entered Disney today for a swing trade. And while these are stocks and sectors that are in the uptrends of the NASDAQ and the S&P, they have nothing really to do with semiconductors. They have nothing to do with what happened in NVIDIA. It is perfectly fine to say, let that melee happen over there. There are other opportunities, okay? Now, where are some of these other opportunities? 4 sectors. We talked about this before. It's really still the same thing. XLV, really simple. Daily price movement ranges. Find the uptrending structure. Find the volatility-based support. Focus on the green grab candles, which are inherently bullish candles. And as we like to say in the room, where the green meets the gray means go, right? That's where we want to get long calls. That's what set up American Express. That's what set up Disney. And that's what's going to set up the next batch of index buys, whether that be NASDAQ, QQQ, whether that be ES, SPY, 6 of one, half dozen the other. We're going to focus on where the green meets the gray, right? And that means we're going to be waiting for another pullback. So pullbacks in and of themselves are not bearish. Think of it more within the context of a trend as a sale. Now, there's a couple other places I'd like to take advantage of. I'm not yet really bullish the Dow from a standpoint of it being in an uptrend. If I take a look at Dow futures, let's do that right here. If I take a look at Dow futures, sure, I could buy this area just below 39,000, but it's been a little bit shaky in uptrend. What's not shaky within the Dow are financials, healthcare, and industrials. Look at industrials. GE would be a great way to take advantage of bullishness in the Dow. And every one of these symbols are things that we've been scanning and entering in the Sector Secrets Mastery. Is it related to futures? Absolutely. Let's focus on either the strongest indices or the strongest sectors within them. Could we get a pullback? Gang, I hope we get a pullback. Let's not confuse a pullback with a punch in the head. Just because we pull back doesn't mean that the market is down for an 8 count, right? Or even knocked out. The bearish analysis that seems to accompany new highs is absolutely misplaced, because what that's doing is getting traders to think about, well, how do I short a top? Do you hate your money? I know you don't if you're watching this video 5-6 minutes in. You're asking yourself, Rog, where are the opportunities? The opportunities are in the pullbacks. Please don't short the tops. New highs are never bearish, right? Could we get the pullback? We have many times so far this year, and take a look. They've all led to opportunities to take profit at the other end of the range. We don't need new highs to keep winning, gang. We just need pullbacks and the uptrend, and these are my favorites: industrials, financials, healthcare. And I would say if you want to look at one other sector and you want something a little bit more defensive, take a look at staples. Now that means, Rob, there's no tech breaking down here. There's no tech analysis. Let's leave tech until Monday or Tuesday of next week. I'll see you all in Charts and Coffee on Monday morning. I'll have the next free video out on Tuesday. And at that point, let's see what's happening with SMH. Let's see what's happening with NVIDIA, and we'll take advantage of the moves there. But XLF is leading the charge, and that's why the S&P has got the swagger. Thanks as always for watching. Thanks for smashing that like button. Leave whatever comments or questions you have below, and I'll see you in the next update. Hey traders, Raghee from Simpler Trading. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment below. And remember, subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll get notified of the next update. And when you're ready to join me for live trading, be sure to head on over to simplertrading.com. I'll see you in the next update.